A very good evening to all of you. I'd like to inform you that our chief guest of the evening is already here in the campus, and we are awaiting the arrival of all our guests. In the meantime, may I request you to please switch off your mobile phones, or you may put them on silent mode if you wish to do so. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. On behalf of Apeejay Satya and Svran Group, we welcome you to the Apeejay Svran Dr. Satya Paul Memorial Lecture 2015. The function is being broadcast live on the URL www.apj.edu/live and also on our Satyavani channel, which is the in-house internet radio station set up by Apeejay Satya University. It's a great privilege to have with us Dr. Raminder Singh Ranger, member of British Empire, Chairman Sunmark Limited UK, to speak on entrepreneurship and nation building. Dr. Rami Ranger is an accomplished businessman, philanthropist, and social reformer who has been honored by Her Majesty the Queen on 7 occasions, 6 times for business and once for community service. Dr. Ranger has also been awarded with the Dr. Satya Paul Memorial Award in 2014 at Madame Tussauds, London, in presence of Madam Sushma Paul Barlia and Lord Swaraj Paul. We also have with us Mrs. Sushma Paul Barlia, co-promoter and president of Apeejay Satya and Svran Group, who is presiding over today's function. We also extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Nishant Barlia, Mr. Aditya Barlia, Dr. Neha Barlia, Mrs. Nisha Barlia, Mrs. Anjali Paul, and we have so many other distinguished guests amongst us this evening. We have Shri Trilochan Singh, ex-chairman, Minorities Commission. And we also acknowledge the presence of distinguished guests from the industry, academia, media, government, and of course all members of Apeejay family. We are also very delighted to have with us students from Chengdu Textile College, China, Tianjin University, and Willem de Kooning Academy of Netherlands. Welcome to you all. This lecture series, ladies and gentlemen, is dedicated to the memory of Dr. Satya Paul and will be our tribute to the great visionary who was not only an eminent industrialist, educationist, freedom fighter, and philanthropist, but also our beacon light, mentor, guide, and philosopher who nurtured an environment where ethics and values thrived and blossomed. May I have the honor of requesting Dr. Ranger along with Mrs. Sushma Paul Barlia, Mr. Nishant Barlia, Mr. Aditya Barlia, and Dr. Neha Barlia. We also have with us Mrs. Anjali Paul and Mrs. Nisha Barlia. I request them all to please light the ceremonial lamp and inaugurate today's program. I also request Shri Trilochan Singh Ji, former Chairman, Minorities Commission, and Shri J.J. Singh, ex-Army Chief,
स्वस्ति श्रीगणनायकं गजमुखं मोरेश्वरं सिद्धिदं बल्लाळं मुरुडं विनायकमहं चिन्तामणिं हेवरम् लेण्याद्रिं गिरिजात्मजं सुवरदं विघ्नेश्वरम् ओझरम् ग्रामे राञ्जननामके गणपतिः कुर्यात् सदा मङ्गलम्। गणपतये नमः, गणपतये नमः, गणपतये नमः, गणपतये नमः।
So those were our beautiful smiling girls from Apeejay School paying obeisance to Lord Ganesha, the remover of all obstacles. And now may I request Dr. Ranger, Mrs. Sushma Paul Barlia, Mr. Nishant Barlia, Mr. Aditya Barlia, Dr. Neha Barlia and Professor Ogra to take their seats on the stage, please. May I now request Madam Barlia, the only child and daughter of Dr. Satyapal, to perform the Deep Prajwalan in front of his portrait. Deep Prajwalan by Madam Barlia. We at Apeejay have this wonderful and unique tradition of welcoming our guests not with flowers but with green certificates, which are a symbol of refreshing green welcome we accord to our guests and on whose behalf we plant saplings later on. The green certificates will now be presented to our distinguished guests on the dais. Dr. Ranger, green certificate for Mrs. Sushma Paul Barlia, Mr. Nishant Barlia, Mr. Aditya Barlia, and Dr. Neha Barlia. The vast empire created by Dr. Satya Paul, with his formidable resilience and indomitable courage, has been molded on the pattern of his endeavor and vision. We now present a short film showcasing his life and achievements.
Eminent industrialist, educationist, freedom fighter, and philanthropist, Dr. Satya Paul founded the Apeejay Satya and Svran group that has achieved an iconic status in independent India. The group is known as a trusted symbol of quality and excellence in the country's industrial landscape. A pioneering visionary with a deep commitment to society, Dr. Paul remained the inspiration and the guiding force behind the Apeejay Education Society, which he established in 1967. Today, the society provides quality education from pre-primary to doctoral levels to over 32,000 students through 29 educational institutions. Dr. Satya Paul was also the founder-chancellor of the Apeejay Satya University, India's first liberal arts and meta university. Apeejay Satya University aims to produce young Renaissance men and women who would be leaders of today and tomorrow. Born on the 4th of October in the year 1919, he surged ahead and faced all the challenges with firm determination. A brilliant scholar, Dr. Satya Paul was a university gold medalist in mathematics in undivided Punjab. During the course of the independence struggle in India, he became quite involved as a freedom fighter. As a result of his active participation, he was imprisoned by the British during the famous Quit India movement. Dr. Satya Paul lost his parents at a very young age, but he took up the responsibilities of taking care of his entire family and running the family business. Under his inspirational leadership, the Apeejay Satya and Svran group has become one of the most reputed corporate houses of the country. Apart from its large social commitment to education, it is actively participating in other business enterprises as well. Throughout his long and illustrious life, Dr. Satya Paul held responsible positions reflecting his versatility, his leadership, and his eminence. Numerous awards and honors were bestowed upon Dr. Satya Paul, though he never desired any monuments for himself. Dr. Satya Paul's humility, simplicity, and affection impressed one and all. The happiest moments of his life were spent with children. He made us believe that it is not a disgrace if dreams remained unfulfilled, but it is a disgrace if we have no dreams at all. A true Karma Yogi, Dr. Satya Paul retained his zeal for hard work even during his advanced age and remained keenly involved in the management of the Apeejay institutions. Active till the very end, he departed from the world peacefully on the 7th of June 2010 while preparing to leave for office. His daughter, Sushma Barlia, together with her husband, Vijay Barlia, and their children, Nishant, Aditya, and Neha, carry forward the legacy of excellence, trust, and growth of the group. You are a spiritual being. You are energy, and energy cannot be created or destroyed. It just changes from one form to another. Therefore, the pure essence of you has always been and will always be with us.
Dr. Satya Paul, a quintessence of dynamism, growth, courage, grit, determination, and perseverance. That was a glimpse of the glorious life of Dr. Satya Paul. We have to keep the torch that was lit by him burning. Following the footsteps of her illustrious father and carrying forward the glorious legacy is his daughter, Mrs. Sushma Paul Barlia. I now request Professor Ogra, Director, Apeejay Institute of Mass Communication, to introduce Madam Professor Ashok Ogra.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Gives me immense pleasure to introduce Madam Barlia, a challenge at another level because she contains multitudes. She's the co-founder and president of the Apeejay Satya and Svran Group, a co-founder and chancellor at Apeejay Satya University, and also the president of the Apeejay Education Society. Somebody who has this great capacity to create a compelling vision, translate it into action, and sustain it. And that's most important. But Madam Barlia is not only continuing with the rich legacy. In that sense, she's not just a curator, important though it may be, but she's also an inventor because she continues to guide the Apeejay Satya and Svran Group to new heights, both in business and social sector. Now, the best way we thought to capture the multitudes that she contains is through a video film that we have on Mrs. Sushma Paul Barlia. Can we dim the lights and have the film, please?
What began with a few small steps found the fuel of ambition and became a journey of a lifetime. A journey of more than 4 decades. A journey that's brought success and recognition. A journey that's created the most respected and admired business and industrial house of the country, Apeejay Satya and Svran Group. A journey that's pushed the envelope of education and employment. A journey against odds and conventions. A journey of vision, courage, and determination. The journey of Mrs. Sushma Barlia. Late Dr. Satya Paul laid the foundations of Apeejay in the town of Jalandhar. As a progressive businessman, he exposed his growing up daughter to his business practices, his values, and most importantly, to his vision for the future.
He always encouraged me to feel that there is nothing in the world that I cannot do if I set my mind to do that.
A learning that became her guiding light when she took over the reins of the group. The transformation, though, wasn't easy. At the time, she was already a mother of 3, very far removed from running a business. Taking it up as a challenge, she shouldered responsibility of not just the business, but also the future of its 500-odd employees.
We needed to look at creating a niche for ourselves. Mr. Barlia has been a source of great strength and support to me throughout this period.
Today, the Apeejay Satya Group is known as a leader across various business verticals.
We started already as a multi-generational family group, but within the last 10 to 15 years, we've really made a huge change. We've gone in from some very traditional industries to those which are more in the terms of the knowledge economy.
The innovation as part of the philosophy of the group is restricted not only to the products that we develop and the services that we offer, but is part and parcel of the very fabric of each and every part of how we work, how we approach the business environment, and how we look at the future, and accordingly restructure our organization towards it.
Recognition and applause came her way. She created history when she became the first woman to head a multi-state apex chamber in the country.
She has that personality, all the traits of her father. And then also I have seen her in many chambers of commerce like FICCI, etc. She very eloquently puts across her points very convincingly.
But entrepreneurial success never let Mrs. Sushma Barlia lose sight of the larger Apeejay vision.
Looking ahead, the best way I can express it is rooted in values and soaring on wings.
Throughout this phenomenal growth, Apeejay Group has maintained its commitment to education that began in 1968 with the establishment of the first Apeejay school.
You know that for Apeejay, education has never been seen as part of our businesses.
Strengthened by her success, Mrs. Sushma Barlia took this vision and created a long-lasting heritage of education. As president of Apeejay Education Society and chancellor of Apeejay Satya University, she has strived to deliver value-based global standards of education. As a means of women empowerment, she has actively promoted higher institutions devoted to women's education.
What we realized is that a lot of places there were schools, but because there was only one school, most of the girls were really not going to that school, partly because people didn't want growing up girls to be in a co-educational school in many of those communities. We also, for instance, established college for women in Charkhi Dadri, which was one of the most backward areas of Haryana in those days.
With such an illustrious career, finding personal time can be a challenge. It's remarkable how she has still managed to find time to be the guiding light for her family.
She never made me feel any different. And between my two brothers, I was the youngest. I've always been in an environment of education, an environment of striving to do the best. And always she's pushed me, she's made me confident, she's always told me you can achieve whatever it is you want to achieve.
Life at the helm of Apeejay Group hasn't been easy. But for a leader, it never is.
It takes such a phenomenal energy because, it's very easy to be just a businessman, just a mother, just a philanthropist or something. But to be able to put all of that, and of course a wife, a daughter and everything, it takes a unique amount of capacity, thought process, whatever you want to say. It's a very rare individual who can do that.
It's been a long journey of putting one dream in motion at a time. A journey that's still seeking new destinations. The journey of a true leader.
This video was made quite some time back, so let me further update the distinguished audience on her recent achievements. Mrs. Barlia was recently recognized and awarded for her contribution to Indian education at a glintering event at the House of Commons, London, held in June 2014. She has also been recently nominated by the NDA government as a member of the committee set up by the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. She was also invited to speak at the BOW, the reputed forum for Asia on education and employment and on the growth of small and medium enterprises. As I said, she is a multidimensional personality with huge interests and voracious reader. A poet by heart, she's as comfortable with Kabir as with the revolutionary writings of Iqbal. And in a sense, she combines in herself the precision of a surgeon, the sensibilities of an artist, and the perfection and the precision of a dancer. Mrs. Berlia is also a brilliant speaker, and we often wonder that it's better if she speaks extempore. She has this great ability to challenge both the mind and also capture the heart with her oratory. May I now request Mrs. Berlia to deliver the address. Mrs. Sushma Paul Berlia.
गुरु गोबिंद दऊ खड़े, गुरु गोबिंद दऊ खड़े काके लागूं पाए. My God and my Guru both are standing before me. Whose feet should I touch first? Guru Gobind dau khade kaake lagung paye, Balihari Guru aapne jin diye Gobind bataye. Whose feet should I touch first? I commence by touching the feet of my father, my Guru, not only in life, but in my spiritual, emotional, and overall development. Whatever has been said about me is not really about me. We needed to see this because this is a tribute to my father. I am, whatever I am today is only because of him. And somehow when I commence by speaking of my father, words tend to desert me. I am a little emotional about it, even though it's been a few years since he's passed away. But his energy, his vision, his mission very much remains with us. And it's not just me as his daughter. It's not just his grandchildren. I would like to quote from the first inaugural memorial lecture, the Apeejay Satya Memorial Lecture that we held last year, where Lord Paul gave the inaugural address. And he said that being a committed advocate of education, Bhaiji was also concerned with two other areas of modern society: the upholding of values and the governance of business. Intrinsically linked, my brother believed that these three components, education, values, and good governance, to be the pillars of a strong democratic society. And I wholeheartedly agree. He went on to say, Bhaiji's character was so much in my mind that when I got the peerage, we were allowed to hold a coat of arms on which you can mention the mottos which you want to live with and those that you have lived with. And those were the thoughts that did come to his mind. But he does not just live in the hearts. He lives beyond that, in the hearts of minds of all those who came in contact with him, of all those who came in touch with him. His smile had a very special quality. Whenever, and this I've heard from so many, whenever one was down, whenever one felt that, one couldn't go on, one did not even need to have spoken with him. If he just sat in his presence, one felt a renewed vigor and a renewed energy. And the reason, therefore, that we remember him is beyond that of just remembering the man. It's really about remembering the values, the indomitable spirit, the courage, the determination, the fearlessness that he exhibited throughout his life. Those values that we need not only to celebrate, but to acknowledge that at the end of the day, it is possible in this material world, in this century, to have achieved a lot with your life without having to sacrifice those values which constitute the core human values, which we all hold dear. And it is with this thought that we instituted this memorial lecture, because Dr. Satya Paul never desired any monuments to himself. I believe that the schools, the colleges, the university, the institutions that he left behind, and the peoples whose lives that he touched are living monuments to his memory and to his values. But so what better way to really remember him than by celebrating those values? He started life, many of us know this already, but how can we have a memorial lectureship without reminding ourselves, just very briefly, about what that he was and what did he become? You know, he came from a very humble beginnings. The family was in a very small business of making buckets. They were 7 brothers and sisters. He was the eldest. They lost their mother when the youngest was born. And he lost his father very soon after he had just completed his education and was to get into work. So to his shoulders fell the responsibility also of bringing up those brothers and sisters. He went on to do his MA Mathematics and was a gold medalist in combined Punjab. But we need to remember that much of his childhood was spent in studying by a lantern because the family could not afford electricity in those days. We need to remember that he completed his education by clambering up steps of one of the Arya Samaj schools that were there in Jalandhar in those times. There weren't very many good schools available at all. And when I say clambering, because he used to walk up with crutches. He had polio when he was a very young child. It was only much later in life when he could afford that he went to the US, to Boston. In fact, Lord Suraj Paul was there studying at MIT at that time. And he could then afford the surgery that enabled him to walk with the walking stick and calibers and become much more mobile. So he completed his education while he was walking around with those crutches or with the help of that manual wheelchair that he needed to use. He fought in the freedom movement. He went to jail with regard to having distributed seditious literature during the Quit India movement. And he used to tell me that that is when he lost all fear, because they'd taken away his crutches. He was thrown into a dark cell. Many days he was alone. Later on, of course, he was with other prisoners also. And they used to sing together many songs related to the freedom movement, which gave them a lot of energy and courage. But they didn't know, anything could have happened to him. Many of them were taken up for hanging or were sent to Kalapani, Andaman. And he did eventually get released. But that is when he said he lost all fear. And he said, I lived my life completely fearless. Look at that focus, that determination, that indomitable spirit. He was very, very passionate about education. He wanted to go and teach at a college, but he was refused on account of his handicap. But that didn't deter him. He decided to then get into business, build up the business. So in a way, the rest was history. The business got built up. The brothers, sisters, they're getting them married, getting them educated, getting them settled in life, was all done very, very lightly. It wasn't a burden for him. It was a source of joy for him. And that is the spirit that we gather here to celebrate. And I am delighted that after the inaugural address by his own brother, Lord Paul, we have with us, Dr. Raminder Singh Ranger, if I may call you Ramiji, to deliver the second edition of the memorial lecture. Dr. Ranger has himself exhibited some of the values that we are talking about. There's a book that he has written, From Nothing to Everything, which embodies how he himself has arisen from very, very difficult circumstances. I'm not going to go into it because I'm sure he's going to share some of that with us today when he talks to all of us, and how he has come to where he is today. In fact, this, as some of you may know, we were to hold this lecture on the 14th. We had to prepone it because it's difficult for Dr. Ranger to have gone back. He's currently a trustee on the Mahatma Gandhi Foundation, which have collected all the donations. He's personally contributed also, which is being installed in UK in the presence of our Finance Minister, Arun Jaitley ji, very shortly. He's somebody who has not just done wonderfully in terms of his achievements as a businessman, not only somebody who has been awarded by Her Majesty the Queen of England on 7 occasions, 6 for business and 1 for his contribution to community, but he's also somebody who truly believes in giving back to society, to the nation, and to the world at large in terms of all that he has got from it. And I think when we look at it, this is what makes the difference between just being an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur who is a leader, an entrepreneur who's intrinsically involved with nation building. Nation building is an old traditional term because we look at it from point of view when we were looking at nations by themselves. Today, really, when we talk of nation building, I think we are talking about the global community at large. It may be useful to think of this world as a nation in itself. We still have maybe other worlds to discover. So when we really talk of nation building, we are talking about contribution to humankind, to mankind, and to development of your own country, yes, but also the world at large. I have always believed very strongly that each one of us, and this is the vision I believe that inspired our chairman also, when he first set up the first Apeejay school, the first Apeejay college, that every human being has the potential to be something great, to be somebody wonderful in their lives. They have a special contribution to make in this world. All that is required when they are small for the children to create the kind of environment that allows the best of this potential to flourish. And this is how the first Apeejay school was started. He started by first giving a school to the community to run, but very soon realized that if he really wanted a school to be able to embody what his dreams, what his vision was, then he needed to have been involved with the running of the school themselves. He wanted the schools not only to focus on human values, but to bring in the best of global learning, scientific temperament, combined with tolerance, diversity, and a focus above all on being good human beings. With this was not something that he thought of as the kind of legacy that we have today. He believed in taking the initiative. He believed in taking the risk and just moving ahead with it. I remember this school where we are sitting in today, when it was first set up, almost 35, 40 years ago, Mr. Sharma? 39 years ago, okay. 39 years ago, it started with tents. There was just empty, barren land. I remember coming in to put in a foundation stone. And everybody was asking him, you know, who's going to come to school in tents? He said, what is important is what is being taught in the schools. What is important is the kind of teachers we are going to have in those schools, the leadership that we are going to have in the schools, and the environment that is created. And we were very fortunate to have so many parents come in even at that time to entrust their children to us. But what I wanted to say was that I could not visualize how he's just starting a school on a barren land. That is what entrepreneurship is about. He wasn't very clear how the money is going to get funded in the first Apeejay school that he set up in Jalandhar, by the way, because on those days business used to be tight. They didn't have that kind of surpluses to funnel through. He wasn't sure whether he would be able to get the right kind of leadership, how the operations would happen. This is the first time that he's doing something like this. But he went ahead regardless. And people came along. They got attracted to the energy that he had, to the mission that he had. The reason I'm sharing this with you is that I believe this is what truly makes an entrepreneur. The ability to take risks in a balanced way, the ability to take initiatives, the ability to think out of the box, and to be able to put in all of your faculties, focus, and determination on achieving what you have set out to do. An entrepreneur does not necessarily need to have money making as his or her objective. In fact, a true entrepreneur is actually looking at the creation of wealth for all. And this is the commitment that we have dedicated ourselves to as my father's legacy going forward, to have these values embodied not just within what we do, but all of us who constitute the larger Apeejay, Satya and Svran group. And all those activities, the approach, in whichever way we work and live our life and work at our businesses together. I would like to thank Dr. Raminder Singh Ranger for specially coming all the way from UK and being with us today. It makes it a very, very special for us, for him to be here and associated with this memorial lecture. I would also like to recognize so many eminent guests who are here with us today, but the list could go on. So may I refer to you as dear brothers and sisters, and thank you for being with us in this special celebration and commemoration. I'd just like to end with an Urdu couplet, which my father used to share with us many times. राहे तलब में जज्बाए कामिल हो जिसके साथ, राहे तलब में जज्बाए कामिल हो जिसके साथ. If your intensity of dedication, or rather if your intensity of desire is matched with your intensity of dedication, राहे तलब में जज्बाए कामिल हो जिसके साथ, खुद ढूंढ लेती है मंजिल उसे कभी कभी. If your intensity of desire is matched with your intensity of dedication, your desired goal itself seeks you out. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words of encouragement. You've been an epitome of excellence and a source of great inspiration and strength to each and everyone in the Apeejay family. Well, following in the footsteps of his grandfather and now his mother is Mr. Nishant Barlia, the eldest grandson of Dr. Satya Paul and son of Mrs. Sushma Paul Barlia and Mr. Vijay Barlia. He is member management board, Apeejay, Satya and Svran Group, an alumnus of Stanford University, USA. He has worked with the group's operations in India, Europe, and the Middle East, and is actively involved with the group's pharmaceutical vertical. He is currently the chairman of PhD CCI Healthcare Committee and member of FICCI Pharma Committee and Life Sciences Council. He's also involved in various social causes, and he is also the joint secretary of Apeejay Education Society. May I now request Mr. Nishant Barlia to give his opening remarks, inform us about the topic, and also talk about our esteemed guest, Dr. Raminder Singh Ranger, Mr. Nishant Barlia.
Thank you, Mridiji, for those very kind words of introduction. Honorable Chief Guest, Shri Dr. Ranger, respected dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. Our today's topic for oration lecture is Entrepreneurship and Nation Building by the very eminent Dr. Raminder Singh Ranger, MBE, FRSA. I was asked to spend a few minutes to introduce today's topic, its rationale in remembering Dr. Satya Paul, and to introduce our most distinguished speaker. I thought I would do so by highlighting some context and raising a few questions within this vast topic. I'm sure you would all agree that the need for entrepreneurship in the industrialization of our country has a very special relevance today, wherein we are trying to make the most of the demographic dividend of a young, talented workforce. Trying to find sources for employment, the just released Indian Economic Survey for India notes, in fact, quoting Liu Kuan Yew, since the Industrial Revolution, no country has become a major economy without becoming an industrial power. In India, on the other hand, whether measured by industrial employment, which has averaged since the 80s around 3% of total employment, or by industrial output on average 10%, the industrial sector, rather than growing, quote unquote, is shrinking. And indeed, major parts of the country are in effect, quote unquote, deindustrializing. As a benchmarking exercise, the survey further underlines that most new industrialized economies, such as Korea's in 1990, had achieved almost 30% peak employment in the industry before its share started to decline after reaching a fairly high level of GDP. Even if we are to believe that services are a panacea for generating employment, the fact is that most of these service subsectors that have shown high growth are those which require a significantly high education and attainment. In effect, excluding from the India story, Bharat, for which very often only has a primary education. In other words, relying on an Indian Silicon Valley is certainly not alone the answer. Neither, however, would be brute force resource mobilization. Even if you look beyond the government, which is struggling each year to manage its budget, the reality is that many corporate balance sheets are also stressed today. We today have one of the highest debt-equity ratios for any emerging market private sector globally. 1 out of 3 BSE 500 companies have an interest service coverage ratio of less than 1. And as per the IRBI alone, if you add restructured assets to NPAs, the ratio crosses over 10% total banking assets. A very unsettling situation if you given the limited equity banks have. Therefore, in a nation of constrained resources, certainly better utilization of resources at every level, the very definition of entrepreneurship, is perhaps as relevant as it ever was. However, what should this entrepreneurship be? Growing up and learning from my grandfather, Dr. Paul, I remember many conversations about the idea of entrepreneurship and its relevance towards an ideal of a shared destiny. How he mentioned many times how truly great businesses are by those who create value for others and who contribute to society, and how wealth is not a benefit but a responsibility bestowed on an individual in the samsara of life. This, I was told, was truly long-term thinking. But how relevant is this philosophy today in a world that celebrates quarterly earnings, market capitalization, mega deals, and quick profits, however fleeting? Moreover, as Warren Buffett notes, nations choose Olympic teams on the basis of merit, not heredity. The ability to command the resources of a nation should always also be based on merit. But that then presents the question, how do we encourage and support the entrepreneurs of the future, or even within our organizations, the intrapreneurs of the future? Both to give them the opportunities as well as the appetite and a value and ecosystem that prides effort, risk-taking, and that accepts failure. And what if we believe, if we believe this is important and values are relevant, what values do we celebrate? My grandfather, like many stalwarts of his time, believed in a very large set of values, and I think you've heard a lot from my mother discussing them. But the question today is, how relevant are these values? And more broadly, if we believe in a certain set of values, how do we imbibe them in our organization and in our societies and in ourselves? And how much is education truly an answer? My grandfather, a freedom fighter, believed that it was only through education that an individual and a society could rise to do the extraordinary. He had a fundamental belief in people that if one invested time, effort, and resources in the development, the rewards for organization, for society are immense. But at the same time, it was many of his life experiences. He mentioned to me when I was very young that his most formative experience of business was his time he spent in the freedom struggle, because it made him fearless And because, as a lot of our business schools, I guess, would say today, he had his best networking because he met all the future leaders of tomorrow. To answer so many of these fundamental questions and navigate these paradoxes, I'm truly delighted to have the privilege to introduce Dr. Raminder Singh Ranger, member of the most excellent order of the British Empire, fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, entrepreneur, philanthropist, a giant of a man in so many spheres of life. We felt that it would be best to share a short video that provides some glimpses of his extraordinary life. Can you please have the video?
Dr. Rami Ranger, MBE, is a remarkable person. He is a truly multidimensional man with a passion for business, politics, and community service, which has culminated in him being honored by the Queen on 7 occasions, 6 times for business and once for community service. Rami's story is a fascinating one. He was born 2 months after the assassination of his illustrious father, Shahid Nanak Singh, who was against the breakup of India on the basis of religion and was assassinated by religious extremists. Rami, having lost his ancestral home and breadwinner, started life in a refugee camp in India with his mother and siblings. His mother instilled the right values which formed the foundation for his success. Today, Rami is the chairman of Sunmark Limited and Sea Air and Land Forwarding Limited, 2 of Britain's fastest growing companies with a combined turnover approaching £200 million and growing fast. Both of these companies received the most prestigious award from Her Majesty the Queen, the Queen's Award for Export Achievement in 1999, and the Queen's Award for Enterprise in International Trade for 5 consecutive years, from 2009 to 2013, with the Prime Minister himself, the Right Honourable David Cameron, presenting him with the 5th award. This is a unique achievement and has made history in British business. As if this wasn't enough, he was once again honoured by the Prime Minister when he presented Dr. Rami Ranger with the GG2 Leadership Award for Man of the Year and paid special tribute to him, not just for business, but for his social and philanthropic activities.
This is the Man of the Year Award, and the winner of this award is, I believe, living proof of the spirit of enterprise and entrepreneurship amongst British Asians. I was hugely honoured to go to his business premises to see him be awarded one of the many Queen's Awards for exports that he has had. He is a great man, a great friend, a brilliant entrepreneur, someone who's put an enormous amount into this country, created jobs and wealth throughout this country. Ladies and gentlemen, the GG2 Man of the Year Award goes to Rami Ranger.
Rami was named the Institute of Directors Director of the Year for a large company for 2013 for the UK and continues to receive numerous accolades for business and commerce. Rami was also recently elected Vice President of the highly prestigious Institute of Export and made a Freeman of the City of London. In 2005, Rami was also made a member of the British Empire for his services to British business and the Asian community. He has a great passion for political and social reform to help all that he can within Britain. Rami was the co-founder of the British Asian Conservative Link. The organisation was formed to make Asians more publicly and politically spirited and to help the Conservative Party become more representative of modern-day Britain, and has been successful in making the Tory party more inclusive and now has 5 members of parliament where before there were none. Rami is the founder member of the Hindu Forum Britain, which was set up to unite all the different Hindu organisations in Britain so they could project a cohesive voice. He felt that it was essential for the public to know about the Hindu religion and the contribution that this peace-loving community made to enrich British life and to ensure that they received due respect for their faith, and that frivolous depictions of Hindu deities were not put on items such as shoes and carrier bags. Rami is the chairman of the British Sikh Association, which promotes interfaith dialogue and a peaceful coexistence. This was set up to celebrate the vision of the Sikh Gurus for a united mankind. In memory of his illustrious father, Rami set up the Shahid Nanak Singh Foundation. The foundation works for peace between religions and communities. An annual memorial lecture is held in India, and in 2013 was delivered by the Indian Minister for External Affairs, Mr. Salman Khurshid. Rami firmly believes that today's youth is tomorrow's society, and we have a responsibility to do our best to shape the future of our country. To this end, Rummy is a fellow of the Prince's Trust, the charitable group presided over by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, which works to give opportunities for extra education and training to young people to help them build brighter futures. Rummy also helps many other social and charitable causes. He recently donated £250,000 to the London South Bank University to set up the Dr. Rummy Ranger MBE Fund for Enterprise Excellence and the Dr. Rummy Ranger MBE Centre for Graduate Enterprise. The centre was opened by the Right Honourable Theresa Villiers, Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. Rummy said that he hoped the centre would empower people through education and enable them to free their imaginations, and that would play a part in helping them achieve their aspirations. Rummy has also addressed numerous prestigious establishments, including Cambridge University and most recently the London School of Economics, to share his inspirational journey. To keep alive the memory of the great Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Rummy Ranger donated £100,000 to the Gandhi Memorial Trust Fund to build a statue of the great man in Parliament Square, London, and to keep alive his principles of non-violence, which have become even more pertinent in our fractured world, so that more people could be enlightened by his teachings. In all, Rummy has done his best to put back into society from where he has received so much and become the change he wanted to see.
I think very inspirational indeed. I'm sure you all agree. In fact, I'm delighted to share with you all of you today that Dr. Ranger, in fact, is flying tomorrow to London, along with Honorable Finance Minister Arun Jaitley ji, as the major donor to unveil the Mahatma Gandhi statue at Parliament Square. Thank you, sir. You take a lot of pride and regard for us in this journey of yours. Dr. Ranger, as an Indian, as an alumnus, in fact, of the school where we are here today, on behalf of the Apeejay Svran family, it is truly a pleasure and privilege to invite you to address today's oration. Thank you.
Thank you, Nishant, for such wonderful introduction, very kind. And today, we are not only celebrating the life of a great man, but we are also celebrating the love of a daughter for her father. No wonder people say, daughters love their parents more. This is a living proof. It's a great honor for me to be here and to share my journey with you. So Mrs. Shushma Paul Berliaji, President of Apeejay Svran Group, co-founder and Chancellor, Apeejay Satya University. General J.J. Singh, former Chief of the Indian Army. Sir Lochan Singh Ji, former Head of the Minority Commission. My father-in-law, Group Captain Lamba, and many other distinguished guests. And also, I would like to thank Nishant, Neha and Aditya for being such wonderful hosts and making me feel already here. And I must not forget Anjali Paul, the daughter of a famous Lord Paul, who has inspired us, still inspires us, and we are indebted to leaders like Lord Paul for setting the standard for us to follow. So Anjali, welcome. Thank you. It is an honor for me to be asked to deliver the Apeejay Svran Dr. Satya Paul Memorial Lecture 2015. Not often do we come across multi-dimensional people like Dr. Paul, who were larger than life and touched the lives of so many with their deeds. Dr. Satya Paul was a great visionary, an industrialist, philanthropist, educationalist, and above all, a patriot who fought for our freedom. We owe him a debt of gratitude. They say, what we do for ourselves will die with us, but what we do for others will live on. I'm here to celebrate the life and legacy of a great man who has left a permanent mark in the world. His apparent passion for knowledge gave birth to Apeejay Satya Group. Through the Apeejay Group, Dr. Satya Paul will live forever in our hearts and his legacy will bear testament to what his life was all about. It is through education we realize our ambitions and dreams and become assets for ourselves, our families, and our country. I would like to acknowledge Mrs. Sushma Paul Burlia for her distinct dedication in keeping the mission of her illustrious father alive and taking it from strength to strength, aided by her 3 dynamic children. And of course, her husband, Vijayji. I believe he's not here, but we would like to thank him, because they say behind every successful man there is a partner. Of every successful woman there is a husband, or vice versa. So you cannot achieve much alone until the partnership appreciate each other's vision. It is a great privilege for me to be asked to speak from the platform from where Lord Paul, an iconic British peer, spoke last year. Lord Paul is held in the highest esteem by everyone who knows him or have heard of him. He is also the younger brother of Dr. Satya Paul. It just goes to prove that nobility runs in the family. This year, the theme of the lecture is entrepreneurship and nation building. In fact, entrepreneurs are by definition nation builders. They go the extra mile to benefit others with their lives, and as a result, strengthen the fabric of our society. As you can see, the school, APG, is providing holistic education to children. And I dare say one day, all universities will be like APG. They will not have the tunnel vision to just make people academically brilliant, but they will also develop their other aspects of life. So this is a cutting-edge institution which we are witnessing. I believe if I share my philosophy with you, then many of you will appreciate how easy it is to be an entrepreneur and a nation builder. Besides, it is always good to learn from others' experience, simply because we cannot learn or experience everything ourselves. I am the chairman of Sunmark Limited and Sea, Air and Land Forwarding Limited, 2 of Britain's fastest growing companies. One is marking fast-moving consumer goods, known as FMCG products, and the other is a logistic company moving cargo from A to B. Both companies have been recognized by Her Majesty the Queen for their contribution to British economy. Sea, Air and Land Forwarding Limited received the Queen's Award for Export Achievement in 1999. Sunmark Limited has won an unprecedented 5 consecutive Queen's Award for Enterprise in International Trade. This is a unique achievement by any company, as no other British company has this accolade to date. Thank you. I was also made a member of British Empire in 2005 for services to British business and Asian community. I've demonstrated that one does not need to have a rich father or an elite education to succeed in life. However, one does need certain quality to be successful, and I'm here to discuss those with you. As you saw, my father was assassinated 2 months before my birth for opposing the breakup of India on the basis of religion by religious fanatics who could not understand his vision of united India free from rivalry. My life began in a refugee camp in India, aged 2 months and no father. However, I was fortunate to have a remarkable mother who worked as a teacher and brought up 8 of us through immense difficulty, having lost her country, ancestral home, and above all, the love of her life, our father. She could not give us financial support, but instilled the right values in us, which became the bedrock of our success. I came to the United Kingdom in 1971 to study law at the young age of 22. Due to financial constraint, I was unable to complete my studies. My brother, who was already in UK, gave me profound advice when I could not find a job. Britain today is a totally different place because the first generation have changed the attitude of the British people by working hard, by becoming successful. Before, we had no track record of success. We were just newly arriving immigrant and nobody knew how to treat them. So it was very difficult for anyone to take us seriously. He told me that as an immigrant, I was starting my life in United Kingdom with minus 15 marks. I was surprised. I said, what do you mean? He said, first of all, less 5 marks for being an immigrant and being in a foreign country. Another less 5 marks for being a non-European and of the wrong color. Thirdly, another less 5 marks for not having UK education and also a foreign accent. An accent can change the perception of many. As a result, he said, I needed to work harder for less than the locals. And my first job was a car cleaner. You can imagine who felt I used to consider myself as a hero, and I became a zero. And I was now on the street cleaning cars. But my mother used to say, you must take pride in whatever you do. And you know, you should never be ashamed of work. She said, whatever job you get, you do it to the best of your ability. And the day I got a compliment from my boss, our cars are looking beautiful. And that day I said, I have arrived. My second job was a chef in KFC, getting 35p an hour. It's nothing, though, you know, a lot of money there. However, through sheer hard work, in less than 2 years, I became a district manager of the same organization, running 10 stores. I used to tell my friends, I may not be Harvard or Princeton or Oxford or Cambridge, but I do have PhD of chickens. I can do a good job when it comes to frying chickens. So I was running 10 stores, became the #1 district manager, broke every sales record, whatever. They say if you're not fit for small job, you're not fit for bigger job. So you got to make sure that the job you do, like General Sahib is here, if you wasn't a good soldier, you wouldn't be chief. Yes? So therefore, you have to be the best. I also gained experience from working as a manager for both Curry's Electrical Store and McCain Foods. They specialize in frozen food. Before starting my first company, I discovered that with just 5 principles, I could surge ahead. You know, we often do not take time to communicate with ourselves. We do not have time. We are running around like working from A to B, you know, taking orders and discharging our duty, but never have time to sit down and communicate with ourselves to find out our abilities or our capabilities. And it's very important that you do find time and relax and talk in your mind with yourself, question, answer, and you'll be amazed how you find those answers. All these 5 principles, we are born with them. And I'm here to share them with you today. First of all, self-respect, good work ethics, commitment, vision, and empathy for others. And I will elaborate those. #1, we need self-respect, as without it, we would cut corner and would not hesitate in letting our customer or employer or supplier down with dire consequence to our reputation. It is the most important thing, what will people think of me? It is our responsibility to make sure that they treat us with the respect we want them to respect us. If people cannot rely on us, then they will not take us seriously and they will not support us. So second is work ethics. That's very important. We must show loyalty to our employers and customers alike. Our motto is we only succeed when our customers succeed. I believe we must work hard for the success of our customer, which in turn becomes our success. Empathy for others is important, as no one can progress if they have no consideration for others, consider their superior or junior. No company can grow if the customers are suffering because of an "I'm all right, Jack. I don't care. I'm only worried about me." That way you cannot build a world-class company. If we treat our customer right, then we can build a reputation which is essential to grow our business. Today you saw the Queen's Award. They represent excellence. It is very difficult to get even one. Number 4, it is important to have a vision, as without one, we are headless chickens, unable to find our directions. We must have a target of where we wish to reach and must plan accordingly. We have to have target or goals in life. We need, and total commitment, of course. We need total commitment to work, as there is no substitute for hard work. You can find substitute for sugar or plastic or something else, but there is no such thing as substitute for hard work. You have to get your hand dirty. Those who watch the clock continue to do so, while those who watch their work surge ahead. You know, there are guys always watching. Is it 5 o'clock now? Is it 5 o'clock? And that attitude is not going to take them far. I started my logistic company in 1987 with capital of just £2 from a rented shed. Because this is a service industry, you don't need money for plant, machinery, or anything like a doctor, accountant, solicitor. You're selling your services. My job was to collect cargo from somebody's house, deliver it to the airport so that it could be on-forwarded to their destination and take my commission. So it was easy for me to move into service industry. But in service industry, people always remember your service. It's not just buying a television. They can buy from A, B, and C. Just move shops. It is your service. Either your doctor is with you for life, or you will change him. Or like a solicitor, you don't change people who give you service. The marketing company was launched in 1995, and it is now exporting British product to 130 countries with staggering results. You have to look beyond the obvious. As a logistic company, I came across a lot of customers who were buying British product. And I said, I'm sitting on a captive audience. These people are coming and buying. Why shouldn't I help them? If I help them, I help myself. So I decided to source product for them so that I can keep their freight business. Unbelievable response I received, because unwittingly I was able to remove 7, 8 profit centers. They say you make profit while buying. If your buying is right, your selling is right. Because I was able to eliminate those profits, I became the most competitive supplier for them, and business just snowballed. In less than 20 years, we're not even 20 years old, our turnover is just touching 200 million and is growing over 20% a year. And because this is a 100% export-led company, because export generate many jobs. We ship nearly 15,000 containers a year. There are hauliers, the transport company, shipping company, packaging, manufacturing. This is where the Prime Minister came himself, not someone who's importing cheap product from China and flooding the market and destroying the jobs of the British people. It's the other way. Export generates wealth and employment in the country. So therefore, export is vital for the survival of any economy. Our company has been added to the Sunday Times profit track as one of the most profitable company for the past 3 years running. If you pay tax, you make profit, you also pay tax. I'm very proud. Those who avoid or evade taxes are not going to build a world-class company. I also became the Institute of Directors, Director of the Year 2013, as well as the British Export Champion. How did I do it? Simply by understanding my subject in depth. Here is an example. Well, life is very simple. I'm not a highly, educated guy, but just a education of life. And they say he's a streetwise. So I became a streetwise because of my circumstances. Here's a very simple example. How come two medical students who attend the same medical college, read the same book, and are taught by the same professor for the same length of time and receive the same degree, yet end up as two very different doctors? One is respected by patients, and they travel from far and wide places to see him. And the other just gets by and fails to earn recognition. You might have seen people traveling to see a doctor 5,000 miles, 2,000 miles, because that doctor and the other doctor is just getting by. The answer is very simple. One takes time to understand his patient and establish the cause and method of treatment. He will not rush. He will take time. If need be, he will pick up a phone, take a second opinion or third opinion, because he wants to be known for his craft. Unfortunately, the doctor who is after quick reward cannot be bothered with the detail, and as a result is not respected. Similarly, we must work hard to be the best among the rest by going the extra mile. Mediocrity will not bring us the desired result. Casual effort produces casual result. It is as simple as that. When we arrived in the UK, we realized that if the Englishman is working 5 days, we'll work 6 days. If we work 10 hours, we'll work 12 hours. We had to overcome our handicap. We had to compensate with something else, but not being negative, being positive force. It always pays to be a false positive. We may be able to get by, but we will not make a mark, nor will we be noticed by others unless, of course, we are perfectionists. They say excellence endures. It remains long after everything else is forgotten. Many of you will start your career working for others, and many of you may move into your own businesses. In case you start in the family business, then my suggestion to you is to first learn the rope from the bottom up. This way, you will learn from your personal experience, which is essential to build a strong foundation to take on extra responsibility at a later stage. For those who will start their career working for others, they should work as if it is their own business. Otherwise, they will only work when they are being watched, and as a result, will not develop their true potential. I always tell my people, any staff, I say, you don't work for me. You work for you, for yourself. Do not work, you are never working for others. You're working for your own self to realize your own potential, your own ability. So right attitude, wrong attitude. We must have the ability to get on with our senior and junior alike, and must never become opposition leader to our superiors. If people start giving trouble at this level, you're not going to promote them. This is all very common sense, and unfortunately, common sense is just not so common sometimes. So we must never become opposition leader to our superior. Instead, we should try and take some pressure of them and act as a pressure valve, easing their workload. We must empathize with their position. We may have one ball in the air, they might have 6. But this is how I was promoted to district manager. No special qualification required, just the right attitude to appreciate the other's point of view. The result is that our superior will always like to work with us, rather than those who speak disrespectfully and induce unnecessary pressure. Our attitude toward our junior should be such that we should take the time to explain the rationale behind our instruction, so that they too can appreciate where we are coming from. We shouldn't expect them to be just mere yes man or typewriter. We must explain to them, they will start enjoying. We must make them feel important and encourage them to do more and help them to grow and develop so that they too can become assets. We must always add value to whatever we do. Here's another example. Anyone can serve McDonald's, but the person who serves with charm and politeness will be noticed and bring respect not only to the establishment but also to him or herself. I was greeted very nicely by the APG student and corporate staff and everything. They brought respect to themselves, and to the organization. We must always try to mix with people who are more successful than us. This is what General JJ saying. I am here in his company, and Sadat Locha saying, I can learn a great deal from people who are a lot more accomplished than myself. By standing with us, we appear to look tall, but in fact we are not. It is paramount to join bodies and organizations which represent the field we are going to be in, as this will keep us abreast of what is going on in our field. This also offers us opportunity to network with the right people in our chosen field. The difference between success and failure is very simple. A successful person works hard to benefit others so that he or she is liked and respected, whereas failure regards it as his or her divine right to be loved and respected by everyone, regardless of his or her own attitude and behavior. So it is our responsibility to demonstrate to people that we are useful. I just want to tell you one story, because I think it's important that you know. Once upon a time, when I was a store manager, my district manager used to call me from Birmingham because, he was on a tour. Can you do this for me? Can you do, my children are stuck in school. Can you go, I'm in the traffic. Will you go? So one day, thank you. One day I said, okay, I will do that. So I did that. Then he said, I've got guests there. Can you arrange this? So I did a couple. My assistant manager came up to me. He said, don't you realize Frank Poole was our regional manager. He's using you? And I said, I know I'm worth using, but you are not even worth using. So it's very important if people come to you for help because they trust you, they believe in your capability. It's going to have a positive attitude, not looking at the wrong end. So we must always remain an asset and never become a liability to anyone, whether they are our parents, employer, customer, or suppliers. An integral part of life is facing challenges and finding solutions for them. Here is how I found solution to growing my business. In order to grow businesses, one needs to merge, acquire, or forge strategic alliances with companies. As I only had £2 capital to start my business, I could neither acquire a company nor did anyone want to merge with me. So I was left with the third choice, to forge strategic alliances with like-minded companies who are in the similar situation. The logic is very simple. When one cannot afford to fight the competition alone, then one needs to join forces with others to become a credible force in the market. Besides, anyone in export needs local knowledge, which is crucial in establishing oneself in any market easily and quickly, and that too without much cost. They say, when we share our profit, we also share our cost, but double our strength. By having local partners on the ground, we were able to export our product to many countries simultaneously with unbelievable results. This is how we entered 130 countries in less than 20 years by plugging into the already established distribution channel of our strategic partners. Now, question is, how do you find strategic partner for collaboration. It is easier than we think. They say hidden talent is no talent. As a result, we must tell everyone about our business and what product and services we can offer and what benefit we can bring to the table. We must exhibit our product and services wherever we can to tell the world what we are all about. When we exhibit in trade fairs, we can be sure of finding right people who are also in search of product or services to grow their businesses. There are far fewer time wasters in exhibitions, as no one will spend time and money to travel to trade shows for mere sightseeing. By exhibiting, we come face to face with our potential customer or future partner for collaboration. If you find yourself in the export business, then I strongly suggest that you ask the Trade Department at embassies to put you in touch with companies engaged in similar business to that of yours in their countries. By piggybacking on them, we can get into any market easily, and that too without prohibitive cost. I believe a step-by-step approach to grow your business is the right way forward. I never encourage anyone to take risks with their livelihood as well as that of their staff. My success is the result of collaboration and cooperation with others, and I encourage people to make the most of their strategic partner. And I was encouraged to see that APG is also doing the same, collaboration with so many different educational institutions to bring expertise from one another's field and to give that student that extra benefit. I've always said, by sharing our profit, we double our strength, and I do urge, when you have the chance, to do the same. I can summarize my approach to business with the following analogy. Our approach to business must never be like that of a hunter who likes to go for a quick kill. Instead, our approach should be like that of a farmer who works hard for a bumper harvest over a period of time. Before I can conclude, I would like to pay tribute to my adopted country, Great Britain. It is because of the British sense of tolerance and fair play that an ordinary person like me could realize and fulfill his ambition and become an asset for his family and adopted country. We must never discriminate against anyone on the basis of their race, religion, or gender. If we do, then we'll turn assets into liability for ourselves or our country. I wish all of you very best in your endeavor and hope that you will make yourself and your family very proud with your achievement. Thank you.
In the words of Victor Hugo, perseverance is the secret to all triumphs. Dr. Ranger's glorious life aptly reinforces this axiom that there is no substitute for hard work. His is the story of hope and accomplishment, of aspirations and achievements, of hard work and reward. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with your words of wisdom and for sharing with us your mantras of success. We'd like to seize this opportunity and request you to answer a few of the questions from the audience here this evening. So I invite you to ask questions to Dr. Ranger. Anybody from the audience?
Is there anyone who would like to ask me any question, something which concerns them? Okay, sir. Can somebody give him mic?
Sir, I am Professor Amit Sareen from Apeejay School of Management, Dwarka, New Delhi.
Hello, Professor.
Yeah, hi. It is so impressive to hear you. It's very inspiring. And I wanted to ask the question that how do you, like you are the best person, you have been to UK, you know India also. How do you compare the entrepreneurial environment between UK and India in terms of ease of doing business, in terms of cultural environment, in terms of government support, or in general the entrepreneurial environment between the two countries? What is your comparison?
That's a very good question. First
you,
of all, I must tell you, in 1947, two countries were created. One to promote people on the basis of their religion, one to promote people regardless of religion, and that is India. We owe a great deal to our leader who opted for secular and democratic constitution, where people are equal. Their equality is enshrined in the constitution, regardless of race, religion, gender, anything. The result is that we are taught to use merit and not race or religion. There are countries, they are based on religion, then they systematically try to undermine or to discriminate against a section of their own population and score their own goal. You don't have to go far. You can see across the border what is happening. So we are so grateful to our leader, the founder of India, who gave us secular constitution where we become equal. Regardless, whether I'm from Madras, Andhra, UP, Punjab, we are one. So that helps Indians to integrate into any society, anywhere in the world, because they become part of the fabric. They are not, I can go as far as to say, we are a liberated community. There are some communities, you'll find them in ghettos, but the Indian people, they might arrive into a ghetto, but soon they disappear into every part of Great Britain. So we have no conflict. We share each other's value. Britain is a rule of law, respect for women, respect for everything. We have the same. So everything is same. And today, Indians have done so well in America, Canada. It is all because of the constitution of our leaders who made sure that we never use race or religion to surge ahead. Anyone else?
Can we just have one question? One more question. Okay.
Oh. Nia has a question.
Sorry, I have one
Nia,
question
Are
actually.
you going to trip me?
Sorry, so Dr. Ranger, actually, my question was related to culture. So I actually had a specific question, wondering how you manage to maintain the culture in your company. This is a big question for us, the younger generation, because we're struggling, because the world changes so fast, and I think culture is very important, especially for a business.
You see, our culture is very old. It is probably the oldest civilization in the world. So we should be very proud of our heritage, our ancient, whatever you call it. It is because of that culture we are what we are. Because we have never been taught to, take undue advantage of anything. The very fact that so many people, nationality, religion, survive in India shows the strength of our country. And diversity is a strength. If you walk into a park, you just see one color of flowers, you won't enjoy it. But different color of flower, India's diversity, in the word of my father, he used to say, India's diversity is like the color of a rainbow. Its charm will diminish if one were removed. That he was pleading to the Muslim leader of don't cut and run, that India will be secular and democratic country, one man, one vote. Together we'll make our destiny. But don't break up, the union. So therefore, our culture, wherever we go, is respected. We enrich the cultural life of that people. Today, the Bollywood is respected, loved by so many people. The Bhangra music is so popular across the world. Indian food is, I remember when I arrived in England, The native used to say, we can't stand your food. Now they can't get enough of it. How we have educated them to a good, decent curry. So there are now restaurants in every corner of Britain or world. So therefore, I think there is no, we should leverage each other's qualities. Cultural diversity is so good. It's only a good thing. That's it? There's a gentleman here.
PhD chamber.
So, Mr. Junjunwala.
Yes. I would like to say that India is going ahead with Make in India program. Make in India. You must have heard our Prime Minister Make in India.
Sir.
So what do we need more to do? Because we have already said Make in India, but we are not achieving the result.
There is a proverb, lock your door and don't call anyone a thief. Suna hai kahavat, apne ghar ko tala lagao, chor kisi. If there is no red tape, there is no obstacle, no restriction, no stoppages by the bureaucrats, here I am, an ordinary man who goes to England where the system works and I become successful. You bring somebody into a system which doesn't work. I always give example, if you take a first division player, football player, and put him in third division, he will struggle. So India has to open up, remove all those barriers. The biggest asset of a nation is its people. And here I see is break here. You can't do this, you can't do this. Where is it? Where is it? All the time, there are bureaucrats not to help you, but to hinder you. Please tell me, I'm Indian, I'd love to set up a factory tomorrow. But I know, when I export a container of biscuits, let's give you an example, which are made in England, fit for English, European community, they're not fit for India. Yes? They will stop, harass while the goods are being expired. Every trader, businessman will export goods to test the market. If the products are accepted, then they come to the country to open factories like Nissan, Datsun, Toyota. They first export car from Japan, then they see the market is good. We are shot down at the first step. We're not even given chance to test the market so that we can plant machinery. People will be queuing to invest in India if the system become business friendly.
But this type of problem is always there. Our Indian mangoes, they were banned. Fish, that was also banned in America. So sometimes something is...
But you see, those are question, there are question of standards also. They just don't ban because they don't like India. We are the most respected, loved people in Europe or in the world. They know Indians are an asset. But if you have a farmer who is using far too much fertilizer and for that reason the mangoes have a lot more chemicals, then you have to ask that person, because the mangoes are coming from Pakistan, from Bangladesh. Why not India? They have nothing against India. We are buying product on merit, and we are today, I had to compete with the best in Britain. It's always about merit. Merit is very important. Kehte hain, Surya chadega, dunya dekhegi. If you become, they will queue, they'll come for your mangoes. Provided we have the best mangoes, they meet the required health standard. But now the mango ban has been lifted, by the way. The good news. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll be continuing with our conversation with Dr. Ranger during tea time. You all are most welcome to talk to him at that time. Well, as a mark of our deep gratitude and appreciation, we'd like to present a memento to our honorable guest. I request Mrs. Sushma Paul Barlia to present a memento to Dr. Ranger and also present him with a shawl. It's a memento from our side for Dr. Ranger. And a shawl as a mark of our gratitude to him. I now request Dr. Ranger to release the book on inaugural Apeejay Svran Dr. Satyapal Memorial Lecture delivered by Lord Swaraj Paul in April 2014 on industry, education, and values. We had this lecture last year in April, and we've published a book on it, Industry, Education, and Values. Thank you, sir. And now I take this opportunity to introduce the younger son of Mrs. Sushma Paul Barlia and Mr. Vijay Barlia, Mr. Aditya Barlia. He is a member Management Board, Apeejay Satya and Svran Group, Pro-Chancellor, Apeejay Satya University, and an alumnus of Stanford and Harvard Business School. He is a young entrepreneur and educationist who successfully balances his role in the corporate world along with his philanthropic dedication to education. He directs and executes strategic projects while holding direct operational roles in a number of group companies. He is credited with developing the broad vision of Apeejay Satya University as an institution of excellence. He is the founder of the Svran Open Design Foundation and member of CII National Committee on Design. Mr. Aditya Barlia has been conferred with several awards, including the Outstanding Educational Entrepreneur Award at the World Education Congress 2013. His published works include a book on poetry and a national bestseller fiction, Tantra by Adi. I now request Mr. Aditya Barlia to propose vote of thanks.
Dr. Ranger, distinguished guests from India and abroad, and of course, members of the entire Apeejay Satya and Svran family. First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Ranger, for taking out your valuable time. I know it is not a short flight to India, especially since you have to go back to unveil the Mahatma Gandhi statue, to be with us and to share your thoughts. I'm sure all of us here will deeply reflect on your 5 principles, which are both lofty and surprisingly pragmatic at the same time. I was most delighted that you spoke about the importance of the dignity of work and the transformative effect it has had in societies, in cultures, and of course, in nation building. I love the fact, and with great pride, that it was the Indian community that made Britain go from a 5-day work week to a 7-day work week. And I'm so glad you shared that example, although I'm not sure now people are happy with it, but I think it demonstrates how far a single body of immigrants can have a long impact in such a small period of time. We are all, and we all have, certainly I have, that we make the mistake of thinking that some work or task is beneath us. It was wonderful to be reminded about the great joy in and the humility of simply being a person who is going, working, doing the task that is assigned to them, and doing it with great pride. My grandfather always believed and said that work is worship. And thus, it is always amazing to have somebody who is grounded in the same values and who has used those same values to achieve so much success. To earn respect for your work must at first be respectable. And to paraphrase what you said, it is always a pleasure to be of service. People appreciate and recognize that, and they will reward you for it. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, your philosophy, your business advice, and your simple truths. And I encourage everybody to go back and listen to Dr. Ranger's talk. It has been recorded and it will be up on the Apeejay Satya University's Satyavani radio website. I'm sure we can all go back and relearn and look at some of the amazing stories that he shared and We have been taking notes on the stage. I know some of you didn't have your pencil or pen. If I may request some of you, I do know there are a lot of teachers and professors here, some homework, if you will. Thank you, sir, and in the paucity of time, I will keep my comments brief. I want to thank everybody for sparing your valuable time, for being here with us, for sharing in this great event and moment. As a family, for us, remembering my grandfather is full of emotion, and I can think of no better way to remember him than to share this day with all of you. I also want to thank our hosts, the principal, A.P. Sharmaji, all the staff and the members of Apeejay School Sheikshrai for taking the time, energy, and to put on such a great effort to make us all feel at home and to feel comfortable. If you could please give them a big hand.